Welcome, everyone. It is Wednesday, December the 23rd, 2020. It is currently 5:09 p.m. Central Time. I'm still here at Victory Baptist Church. I've been here now, how many hours? I think I've been here 5 hours now. I think I've been here 5 hours, and I think this is going to be my last live broadcast of today. My plan is to take Thursday off, be back here on Friday, which is Christmas Day, and try to do something on Christmas Day. Maybe just one thing, maybe two things. We will see. That is the plan. And as I was sitting here going, what do I need to do to kind of conclude my day of live broadcasting? I've decided to go back to this little mini series that we're doing on the Doctrine of Separation. Now, once again, this is another series that hasn't proven to be as well received as some of the others. Again, if I go look right now on YouTube, I think one of the thing I did on Beth Moore, I think it's like 429 views now. I don't even know what it is. That one is doing really well. I don't even know what the number is. Like, I'm getting all kinds of comments, and those numbers are big. The things I did on MacArthur and the situation going on there, big numbers. That's how it works. If you go with some of the controversial stuff, that's where current events, controversy, boom, yeah. Hey, let's deal with doctrine and theology and Bible. Not so much. And look, it's nothing new to 2020. I've experienced this going all the way back to the days on Sermon Audio doing News and Focus, man. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads, as long as I kept dealing with the controversial stuff. If I tried to do Bible teaching stuff, it never was as well. The sermons were never as well received as that. And that's just the way it is. Nothing I can do about that, right? But I believe that in spite of the lack of maybe popularity or lack of positive reception, that talking about this, the thing we're talking about in this mini-series on the Doctrine of Separation, I don't know if I've mentioned that a minute ago, but yes, I'm doing a mini-series on the Doctrine of Separation. And I know that doctrine is not one that everybody's like, I want to study. I want to study the doctrine of separation. But it's a doctrine that we have to think about, because even if we don't use that term, doctrine of separation, and we rarely just somebody call the church and go, hey, what's your doctrine of separation? They don't state it that way, but listen, it still shows up, because let me explain. You don't get a phone call going, what's your doctrine on, your doctrine on separation? What's your doctrine on separation? What's your teaching on separation? Or no, they'll call and say things like this. Are you ready? What kind of music do you use? What kind of music do you use? Do people in your church watch television? Do the women in your church wear pants? Do the women in your church wear lots of makeup and jewelry? Do the women a lot of times it's a lot about the women of the church. Do the women, what about the men of the church? Okay. And it's all usually about external things, what they wear, what kind of music. Do they send their kids to public school, or do they homeschool? Some of these kinds of questions you get, right? And they don't usually ask the question because they assume that if they walk into the door of the church, I'm going to be wearing a tie. And if I don't wear a tie, then that's probably the sign that I've taken the mark of the beast and I'm a secret member of the Illuminati with a reptilian brain who's going to bring the whole world into subjection of the Antichrist, because the tie is the symbol of holiness and godliness. I wasn't aware of this, but yeah, that's kind of the thing people look for. Now, they don't say, what's your doctrine of separation, or what's your doctrine on the subject of separation. They may not state it that way, but those questions pertain to that very issue. And Christians debate and struggle all the time. What movies can you watch? What movies can you not watch? Do you go to the movie theater? Can you listen to this? Can you do this? Can you wear this? Can you go here? Can you go there? And there's all these questions about usually external behavior. What things do we need to come out from among and be separate from, be different from? We don't touch the unclean thing. And remember, we've dealt with this already on all the previous parts of this mini series. We've been dealing with a lot of these issues. And And I know they're not maybe the most, I know they're maybe, put it this way, they may not seem like the most important issues, but they're important from this perspective. Please hear what I'm about to say. They're important because so many of these issues arise from how people handle certain scriptures. Like they'll take a scripture and say, that applies to the music you listen to. That applies to see, you cannot watch that secular television show because see this verse, see this verse, see this verse, see this verse. How dare you go there? You can't go eat at that restaurant because there's a bar attached to it. You can't go in there. You can't you can't go to the movie theater. You can't do this. All these things you can't do, but it always arises from supposedly scripture. So I like studying the doctrine of separation because to me, it becomes an exercise. Wait for it. It becomes an exercise in biblical hermeneutics. And listen to this, biblical application. So in other words, it comes down to how you interpret the scripture and then how you apply the scripture. See, once you interpret the scripture, you have the interpretation, but now how do you take that interpretation and apply it? Because people can take a scripture and say, I'm going to apply it to this. Based off that scripture, you can't do that. That's wrong. It's a sin. Whoa, slow down. So you got from that scripture that you cannot listen to any secular music. How did you get there? Like that, so it becomes an issue. So really, when you study the doctrine of separation, the correct way to study it, I want you to, and this is what I've been trying to demonstrate to you, is go to the text of scripture that is used and any document that's saying, hey, in fact, I'm looking at, we've kind of based this all off documents right so far. That what has led to this series is there was a devotional study guide that talked about the doctrine of separation. So they gave a scripture, so we took that scripture and we tried to take it apart. And I think it was 2 Corinthians 6, and we tried to take that apart to demonstrate what's the correct way to look at this verse in regards to what we should separate ourselves from, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I think this is really an exercise in biblical hermeneutics. I really do. How do we interpret the text? And then how do we apply it when it comes to what we can and cannot do, what we should separate ourselves from, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to go to another passage of scripture in this episode. I'm just trying to help you understand that there's that even if you don't care about the doctrine of separation, well, you should care about biblical hermeneutics and how to apply scripture, so you should be interested in this series. What I'm telling you is you should be interested in this series, and if you're not, there's something wrong with you, okay? And I'm going to shake you right now. Okay, well, obviously, I'm not going to physically shake you, but you get the idea. All right, so here we go. In front of me, I got to put on my glasses. In front of me is a Kindle. I just turned on this Kindle, and I have a 1-year discipleship course book on my Kindle. And every once in a while I'll pull it out because I like utilizing it it may spark a Bible study, it may spark anything. So I'm turned to that discipleship course because this is a book designed to help a Christian to disciple a new Christian, to disciple them. And I think it's a 52-week course. I think it is. I can't remember. And to take you through what they believe are the fundamental things a new Christian needs to know. And one of them is the chapter that I have open right here on my Kindle. Separation from the world. One of the fundamental things they think you need to know as a brand new Christian is that you need to be separate from the world. You need to separate yourself from the world. Well, what does that look like? What does that mean? All right. So before we even get into anything they say, we're only going to do, this is how far we're going to make it, or we're not going to make it very far. It says separation from the world. And then underneath the title, they say memory verses, and they give 1, 2, 3 passages of scripture, which makes up a total of, that's 2 scriptures, 4, I think a total of 4 scriptures. 1 is in 1 Thessalonians, 1 is in James, and 2 scriptures are in 1 Peter. And what we're going to do is we're going to just look at the first one in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, because I have heard 1 Thessalonians 5 quoted at me. It feels like my whole Christian. You can't do that, 1 Thessalonians 5. You can't do that, 1 Thessalonians 5. You can't do that, 1 Thessalonians 5. And we're going to look at it and see if maybe 1 Thessalonians 5 hasn't always been handled correctly. Now, at the same time, Listen, we may determine how it's not been handled correctly, but we at the same time have to determine how to handle it correctly, right? So just because we reject one way of handling it doesn't mean now, hey, everyone's been wrong about how to handle the verse. Now I can do whatever I want. No, you have to go, well, wait a minute, how should I handle this verse? So let's try to figure this out, all right? 1 Thessalonians chapter 5. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 22. It's such a short verse. It's amazing how short this verse is and how big an impact it's had on people's lives, especially as it's been used kind of sometimes as a baseball bat to beat people into some kind of submission. All right, here we go. 1 Thessalonians 5:22. Abstain from all appearance of evil. Abstain from all appearance of evil. Now, the way this is typically read and the way it's typically applied is that the scripture is very straightforward, very easy to understand. Anything that appears to be evil, you don't do it. You don't get near it. You don't, because you have to abstain from even the appearance of evil. Anything that appears evil, you don't get. So if someone looks at that and go, that appears evil, you can't go there. You can't do it. That appears evil. Oh, you can't do that. That appears evil. Oh, whoa, you can't do that. That has the appearance of evil. Oh, no, you can't go there. Can't go there. And so you separate yourself from the world by basically removing yourself from everything that even appears to be evil. And I've seen it applied to everything. Going to a movie theater. Nobody knows what movie you're going to see. Nobody knows. And that's the appearance of evil. You can't go in there because that place serves alcohol and they don't know if you're drinking and getting drunk. That appears evil. You can't go. That appears evil. You can't go in. Nope. Can't go to the video rental store. I mean, I know that's a dated reference because they have bad movies. Can't do that. No, can't do that. So, I mean, it can literally be thrown at you about anything. I mean, basically, if you're not careful, abstain from all appearance of evil can basically almost force you to be almost like take on the role of a monk inside your home. You can't go anywhere but church. You can only go to the Christian gas station, the Christian bookstore, the Christian music store, the Christian, the Christian gym, the Christian hardware store. You've got to go everywhere that's Christian, because if you go anywhere else, then you're possibly, that has the appearance of evil, and we don't know what you're doing in there. And a lot of times it's used by other people to control other people, which I'm not a big fan of that, as you probably know. So what does it mean? Abstain from all appearance of evil. What does that mean? Now, the Bible, the discipleship course, this book is basically a course, right? They just offer it as a memory verse. So I don't have any commentary from them on it. So what do you think we should do with it? Now, see, this is where I wish everybody was in the church building right now, because I would get everyone to start arguing about it, okay? Because I could probably get an argument going. Because all you got to do with Christians is just say, hey, read that verse. What does it mean? And you're going to get an argument. Isn't that sad? But it's true. Hey, read that verse. What does it mean? No, I think it means this. Well, I think it means this. Well, I think it means this. Well, I think it means this. Okay, well, wonderful. Now that you all have your thoughts about what it means, anybody care to actually study the text to figure out what it means? That's what I always. I'm giving something away. When I do this to my church all the time. All right, what do you think that verse means? What I'm always waiting is for some really smart person to raise their hand and go, Pastor, we can't understand this verse until we study this verse. To offer an interpretation of a verse before you study a verse is foolish, and we would never engage in such a foolish practice because we have been taught better. But no, people will usually just take the bait and start going, well, I think it means this, or I think it means this, or I think it means this. Now, sometimes I ask the question because I want them to throw out their interpretations just to see how many different interpretations there are. Sometimes I do it just to get all the different interpretations to go, see, there's 50 in a room of 7 people. Okay. So what does it mean? All right. So sometimes I have different reasons for doing so, but sometimes I want them to say, well, we can't really interpret it until we study it, because that's the facts. We can't. Just reading abstain from all appearance from evil, it seems so simple until you start trying to apply it, right? And then you're like, well, wait a minute. Okay, what you did. No, that's the appearance of evil. But what I do, it doesn't have the appearance of evil. So what does it mean? How do we understand it? Well, let's do this. This is a quick thing to do. Let's just see how it is used in other English translations. Right? Let's go to BibleHub.com. And just let's look at how it's used in all the other English translations. You ready? 1 Thessalonians 5:22. New International Version. Reject every kind of evil. Whoa, wait a minute. That's different, right? Abstain from all appearance of evil. Now, I can't even go anything that appears to be evil. The New International is like, no, reject every kind of evil. It's not something that appears to be evil. You reject something that is evil. Not the appearance, but the very evil itself. Reject every kind of evil. Everything that is evil, you are to reject it. New Living Translation, stay away from every kind of evil. English Standard Version, abstain from every form of evil. Berean Literal Bible, abstain from every form of evil. New American Standard, abstain from every form of evil. So this seems to be saying not from something that appears to be, but something that is. Every kind of evil, every form, every kind, no matter what shape that evil takes form, you are to abstain from it, to take from it, not from the appearance, but from evil itself. Now, that's a radically different, those are different approaches. The King James is the one that says, abstain from all appearance of evil. And then the Christian Standard Bible says, stay away from every kind of evil. The Contemporary English Version, don't have anything to do with evil. Good News Translation, avoid every kind of evil. The Holman Christian Standard Bible, stay away from every kind of evil. The International Standard Version, keep away from every kind of evil. The Net Bible, stay away from every form of evil. The New Heart English Bible, abstain from every form of evil. So if I go through every English translation on the face of the planet, it's not appearance, it's evil itself. No matter what shape it takes, no matter what form it finds itself, stay away from evil. Not the appearance, but from evil itself. So, is it a translation issue? Is it people have just misused this? How do we understand this? Well, let's go really quick to we're going to go to the Blue Letter Bible app. I'm going to pull up 1 Thessalonians 5. Abstain from all appearance of evil. I'm going to go to the interlinear. And here's the word appearance. It is this Greek word.
Strong's G 1491, eidos.
Eidos. And it's used a couple of ways. The external or outward appearance, form, figure, shape, or form or kind. Now, if we go with form or kind, this would be the idea of staying away from every form or kind of evil. Every form of evil, every kind of evil, staying away. Now, if it just says the external or outward appearance, it would be staying away from the external outward appearance of evil. That would kind of carry that idea. So which way do you go? Strong's definition is appearance, fashion, shape, and sight. All right, that kind of goes with that idea. Now, if we go look at this up in a number of translations, hang on one second. All right. Someone's asking me a question in regards to COVID-19. I can't answer your question about COVID-19 right now, but I will get to that briefly. All right, here we go. Here's just what some of the commentaries say. Abstain from all appearance of evil. This translation cannot stand. Possibly it might be rendered every form of evil, but the most natural version would be hold yourselves aloof from every kind of evil. Evil kind of whatsoever you may be testing. The word evil here is used in the moral sense, does not constitute an exact antithesis to the good of the preceding verse. In other words, anything that's evil in a moral sense, stay away from. Not the appearance of it. It says, the word translated appearance, here's another translation, has been differently rendered. It denotes form, figure, species, kind, so that this clause is to be rendered abstain from all form of evil or of the evil. The word being an abstract, okay, and it goes in some different things about it, giving the idea. So it seems to be the idea. All right, hang on. Some suppose that the metaphor employed is from the practice of money changers who tested the money offered to them, rejecting what was base and retaining what was genuine. All right. So, yeah, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else going on here. So the idea is just stay away from evil. Stay away from evil. And it's not just a form of evil, but the appearance of evil. Now, so here's the way we're going to do this. Because we got to figure out what it means. Okay. So let's try to go with the King James, right? Let's just say that the appearance of evil is there. All right. Now, if you're going to say stay away from everything that appears to be evil, first and foremost, you have to clearly demonstrate from Scripture that what you're telling someone to stay from is evil, that it is a sin. Like, you can't just say, stay away from that form of music because it's ungodly. Well, is it a sin? You got to first demonstrate it's a sin to listen to what you deem as ungodly music. Like, you've got to first demonstrate that you've got Scripture that says the music is ungodly. Then you got to demonstrate that there's Scripture saying you cannot listen to that ungodly music, right? Do you have Scripture does there Scripture that says what you can listen to and not listen to? And if you apply it to music, you got to apply it to television. So like you say, you can't listen to that secular music because it has a cuss word. Well, you watch a movie that has a cuss word. So why can you watch movies that have cuss words, but you can't? You're like, well, we don't watch movies that have bad cuss words. Yeah, but you watch a movie that says, oh my, O-M, and then takes God's name in vain. That's a cuss word. In fact, that's actually Scripture about taking God's name in vain. So even if the movie doesn't have the bad F word, if it says, oh my, and takes God's name in vain, you just listened and watched something that violates a clear Scripture, or you just watched something that did something that's a violation of Scripture. I should state it that way, because they took God's name in vain. So if you're going to say someone can't listen to secular music, but you can watch a secular movie where someone takes God's name in vain, which is a clear violation of Scripture, then how are you applying it? So I think that even if something appears to be evil, like, well, that music is worldly and ungodly, well, then you've got to apply that same principle to what you do. Do you only abstain from the appearance of evil when other people can see you, or do you abstain from the appearance of evil even in private? Is it the idea that, okay, well, hey, you can't listen to that music when other people see you, but you can do so in private? Like, how do you understand that? But so I think I'll make it very clear. If you're going to say it's the appearance of evil, right, that it appears to be evil, you've got to make sure that the thing that you're saying is evil, that it has the appearance of evil, is actually evil, that it's actually sinful, that it's actually wrong. And you've got to be consistent in your application. Again, it's Christian parents who do this. You can't watch that movie because we don't like that movie. You can't listen to that music because we don't like that music. But what we watch and what we do, it's godly. That's so wrong. It's so wrong in so many different levels. You cannot do that. You have to be consistent. All right? You have to be consistent. So if you go with the appearance, it just makes sure, like if there's a place that sells alcohol, well, that's not the appearance of evil, because you can't scripturally completely condemn someone from drinking alcohol. You can warn them that alcohol is dangerous and it's probably not wise, because you can, end up destroying your life, but you can't completely say, based off Scripture, you cannot, because the Scripture is against drunkenness, does not specifically condemn drinking. Again, the Church of Corinth, they got drunk at when they were having their meal before the Lord's Supper. They were getting drunk when they were coming to church, and they were condemned for the drunkenness, and for turning the house of God into, basically go home and eat, don't come to the church to eat. Here you're to partake of the Lord's table. But you get the idea. If they were getting drunk, that means there was alcohol. And there was not a condemnation of the alcohol. There was a condemnation of getting drunk. Okay, and again, I understand that. Now, I can give warnings about it, but I got to be very careful to say, hey, abstain from the appearance of evil. You can't go there. They're going to be drinking. That has the appearance of evil. That's not necessarily evil. I think drinking is a horrible idea, and I don't drink, and I don't think anyone should, because I think it's a dangerous, I think you're playing a dangerous game, but that's a whole different point. You get the idea. Like, if you're going to say the appearance of, You gotta make sure that there's an actual evil you're telling someone to stay away from. Now, if we don't render it the appearance of, but stay away from every form of evil, well, then it's clear, right? It's not even complicated. You stay away from evil. Now, you've got to allow the Bible to define what evil is. Not you, not your personal preference, not your likes, not your dislikes, not because of your cultural background, the way you were raised. You can't say, well, I don't like that. No, you can't do that. You can't. It's not about your likes, your wants, your preferences. It's not about what you think. It's not about, I don't like that. I don't think that's appropriate. Based off what? The way you were raised? Your culture? Has nothing to do with Christianity. If it's going to be evil, there will be a Bible verse that specifically condemns it. If you don't have a Bible verse, you're inserting your own personal morality into it. And you don't hold other people to your morality. You may not like it. You may not do it. You may not feel comfortable doing it. But unless you've got a clear scripture, you can't put someone in a bondage you can't put people in bondage. Too many times churches throughout history have put people in some kind of bondage about what they can and can't do, all by saying, hey, abstain from all appearance of evil. And you just then throw out, see, that looks bad. That looks bad. Well, first of all, I got to establish it is bad. And if the verse is rendered abstain from every form and kind of evil, well, then which is what the word can mean, that form and kind. Well, then I only have to stay away from that which is truly evil, which is truly a sin, which is what the scripture clearly says I cannot do, or tells me I can't do it, and I've got to stay away from it. Something that's clearly evil. I just think sometimes we play these very loose games. And I hate to say it, it's usually older people. It's parents and older people who just have their own little hang up with something that they don't like. They just don't like it. And so then they want to don't use scripture as a weapon to get your kids to do what you want them to do. Scripture is not a weapon that can make your life easier and that you can condemn anything you don't like. It's not about, you don't look for scripture as a way to justify your own taste. No, you don't do that. And I've heard pastors like, I hate that kind of music, and I hated that music even before I was saved. Well, do you think possibly your hatred for that music even before you're saved is clouding the way you view that music now that you are saved, and you're trying to find scripture to support your dislike of it? I hate it. Oh, now that I'm Christian, now I've got God on my side. No. Well, we got to and again, you've got to be consistent. I've seen it so many times. You tell parents screaming at a kid, you can't listen to that music. It has the appearance of evil. It's sinful. And then you go, but look at the movies they're watching. What movie are you watching? What's that? That doesn't have the appearance of evil. That has straight up evil in it. Well, it's just a movie. Well, it's just a song. It's a movie that tells a story, has a narrative, has characters, protagonist, antagonist, tells a story. Sometimes there's a very good moral story. Sometimes it's not. Ups and downs. It may have a redemption story at the end. All the different ways of telling the story, has a story arc, plot development, all of that. We can analyze it. We can look at it. But it's a story, and that story may contain some very not good things. How do you view that? Can you do that or can you not do that? Well, are you not abstaining from evil because there's evil in it? But you're not actually engaged in the evil. You're watching the evil to unfold in a narrative, in a story. Just like when I read the Bible and I read about murder and rape and horrible things that happen, I'm reading about horrible things. I'm not being told to do those things. I'm not engaging in those things. I'm watching it. So if I'm watching it, am I guilty of not abstaining from all form of evil? Is it just, do I stay away from the evil or stay away from actually engaging in the evil? Like, these are questions you have to ask. And to me, it seems to be staying away from evil. Like, I'm not engaging in the evil. Don't engage in it. Don't do it. Don't participate. I mean, I'm in the world. I'm around evil all the time. If you're in the world, you're around evil. So is this abstain from all form of evil, remove yourself and go live in a monastery? You're going to be around evil people, evil things. There's going to be evil all around you because we're in a fallen world. We don't engage in the activity. And I just hate that separation always gets down to music, movies, where you go, how you dress. It always, you can't get your hair cut that way because see, that's how the world cuts their hair. And now you've got to abstain from the form of evil. Yeah, and nobody in the world wears suits. Nobody in the world, has short hair. I mean, come on, like that. We always reduce it to these very simple things. And then I think sometimes what we do once we reduce it to that simple thing, then we're not even consistent in our application of it. So 1 Thessalonians 5:22. There we go. There's more I could say, but I'll leave it for you to struggle with and work on and see what you can. It's just interesting how people have handled that. And please note, once you figure out what it says, okay, I think it's pretty much telling me to stay away from evil. Now, you got to make sure that your application is consistent with your interpretation. In other words, your application cannot go beyond what the Scripture actually says. If the Scripture says this, you can't then apply it in a way that goes beyond the actual meaning of the text. We're all guilty of doing that. I've done it. You've done it. We've all done it. And that's what we need to separate. We need to separate ourselves from bad handling of Scripture first and foremost. All right, there you go. I'd love to get your thoughts. newsif@yahoo.com. newsif@yahoo.com. All right, everyone have a great day. God bless.